Good afternoon. I'm Karen Morris. I am currently the treasurer of NAWL. In, I think, 10-ish minutes or so, I will be the vice president of NAWL. I'm also a senior vice president and general counsel of the USAA P&C Group. NAWL's mission to advance women in the law cannot be achieved without inviting our male colleagues to the table and celebrating those who champion the cause. Each year, NAWL honors a male lawyer who is a leader in his firm, company, government unit, or public interest entity who tirelessly advocates for the advancement of women in the profession. I am incredibly honored to introduce this year's Lead by Example awardee, Ben Wilson, chairman of Beveridge and Diamond. Ben's investment in the advancement of women in his firm has achieved outstanding results. 32% of the firm's principals are women. 5 of the firm's top 10 clients have women relationship principals or feature women in prominent day-to-day roles. Half of the lawyers on the firm's management committee are women, as are 5 of 8 total management committee members, including the firm's CFO and COO. A graduate of Harvard Law School, Ben's distinguished career has spanned private practice and public service, including the Civil Division of the Department of Justice, where he appeared on behalf of the government in the United States Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, the United States Court of Claims, and district courts throughout the United States. Ben has extensive service on for-profit and not-for-profit boards, currently serving as the chair of the Environmental Law Institute, the board of directors of Northwestern Mutual, the board of trustees of Dartmouth College, and the board of the Leadership Council on Legal Diversity. Ben's service to the profession includes teaching as an adjunct professor of environmental law at the Howard University School of Law, and serving as a guest lecturer at several prominent institutions, including Harvard, Tulane, Michigan, and Washington University in St. Louis. Myriad organizations. Truthfully, I really wasn't sure how I was going to do this in 3 minutes or less, so I cut this way down, because myriad organizations and publications have recognized Ben's leadership and advocacy for D&I, including the United Negro College Fund, the National Law Journal, and the ABA Commission on Racial and Ethnic Diversity in the Profession. Ben's professional career, service to the profession, and community are extensive. I encourage you to read his full bio in the program materials. Now, please join me in welcoming the 2018 Lead by Example honoree, Ben Wilson.
I brought my readers. Thank you, Karen, for that most generous and kind introduction. I wish to thank NAWL and its awards committee for selecting me for this honor. I share this honor with the colleagues from my firm, Beveridge and Diamond, both our staff and our attorneys, as well as our many clients and friends who have made it easy for me to lead by example. I want to especially recognize the remarkable women of Beveridge and Diamond, from whom I continue to learn how to lead and with whose future leadership, and I would add current leadership, our firm is secure. Would you all just stand a few at these 2 tables, 9 and 26? I want them to see you. I'd like to take a moment, this was not in my prepared remarks, to speak of a woman who's not here. Her name is Sarah Albert. She's a young partner in our firm. And about 5 years ago, Sarah came to me and she said, Ben, there's this organization, NAW. Would it be okay if we join them? Well, Sarah, like almost every woman in my life, hardly needs permission to do anything. But what she did need was the sponsorship money. And so I said, yes, Sarah, on 3 conditions. 1, does NAW have sections? Do they have affinity groups? She said, I don't know. I said, if not, let's start some that do what we do, environmental and litigation, and she did. I said, I asked her what was the least expensive meal of the day. She pondered a little too long. I helped her breakfast. And I said that we should host a breakfast in every city in which our firm has an office, and invite the women in those cities who are affiliated with NAW, women who ought to be affiliated with NAW, and in particular, the women who do what we do in environmental law. I want to be the firm for women in environmental law, and she did. And then the 3rd condition, which I thought was the most important, I said, when you get there, Sarah, hold the door open. Hold the door open. For the women who are not there. Today, virtually every woman in our firm is a member of NAW. You should applaud Sarah. Now, my mother used to warn me, be careful about the company you keep. But today, like me, she'd be very proud to know that I'm being recognized along with Sandra Phillips Rogers, Ivan Fong, and Robbie Kaplan. I know firsthand of the important work Sandra, Ivan, and Robbie have done to advance women. There could not be more deserving honorees. Now, someone out there is asking, Ben, why do you say it's been easy to lead by example? Well, first, as you can see, I'm not the chairman of my firm because of my intelligence or my good looks. You're supposed to laugh. A little stronger. Rather, it is the many women who work for companies and developers and municipal, state, and local government who chose to retain me and who have provided me the clout and a profile, both inside and outside my firm. You see, it is their efforts which permitted others to see me as a leader. With those clients, my fellow shareholders treat me as though I were tall, dark, and handsome. And as you can see, I'm none of those things. Having clients helps make one's jokes funny. See? And observations insightful. But without these clients, I'm like an actress no longer beautiful. There would be no parts for me. So someone out there is asking, probably way back there in that corner, why have these women chosen to retain you, Ben? Why have they given you a chance? I'm glad you asked that question. You see, I believe women know what it means to be dismissed, to make a point in a discussion, have the point ignored by the men in the room, only to have it repeated moments later by a man and seized upon as though it were manna from heaven. Sounds like somebody else has heard that before, too. I believe women know what it means to be passed over for promotions and to receive lower pay for doing the same work as men. You see, these women choose to give me a chance, and I fight like hell every day to justify the risk that they've taken by defying conventional wisdom to retain me. You see, their decision has facilitated diversity and inclusion in our firm. 32% of our equity partners are women, as compared with 20% in most law firms today. Half of those serving on our management committee, and that's the committee that decides compensation, are women. You see, these changes do not happen unless someone is empowered to make them. And women have empowered me, and each day I strive to honor that empowerment. Leading by example in the legal profession has also been made easy by the fact that I met my wife, Miranda, married 42 years this August, if I don't mess it up. See, that is funny. On the first day of law school. I was going to give her a tour of Cambridge. The only landmark that Wilsons knew, of course, was the football stadium. Her vision was not good, and my lone advantage in the relationship was that I could read the identifying signs in front of the distant buildings. But then as now, my wife was always smarter than me, and she quickly saw through my ruse. Thankfully, we had a second date, and 45 years later, we are still together. As the first black woman associate at what is now Alston & Bird, the first black woman partner at what is Sidley & Austin, and one of only 3 black women partners in Washington, D.C. law firms at the time, my wife faced barriers. We spoke of them almost every evening. By the next morning, she girded herself for the new day's challenges and set an example for both our daughter and me about perseverance and grit. Our daughter, Rachel, is a graduate of the University of Michigan Law School and spends her time working for Access Lex, an organization which seeks to ensure access to law school for underrepresented minorities. You see, nothing persuades a man of the necessity for fairness in the workplace or in the classroom or the playing field more than having a daughter. And I'm no exception to that rule. I'm mercifully at the end, but in closing, I wish to tell you a very special story of courage and the law about a woman in my family from many years ago. She was my great-great-grandmother. She was born Charity Palmer in 1807 in Loudoun County, Virginia. Any Virginians here in the house? All right. Charity's father was a slave, and her mother was the sister of the master's wife. For those of you trying to figure that out, her father was black and her mother was white. So from the beginning in the Old Dominion, the rights of a child were based upon the rights of the father. Thus, if the father were a free man, so was his offspring. However, after slave owners started having children by slave women, Virginia saw fit to change the law so a child's rights were based upon the rights of the mother. Thus, in a uniquely male way, ensuring that children born to slave women would, like their mothers, forever be chattel. No doubt embarrassed by Charity's ignominious birth, her mother's uncle sold the child into slavery in Kentucky in contravention of Virginia law. In 1824, at age 17, Charity somehow persuaded an attorney to take her case in Chancery Court in Pendleton County, Kentucky. There, Charity was declared free with one catch. Isn't there always a catch for women? She would have to continue as a slave for 10 years, presumably because her owner had been missold by the seller. 10 years later, Charity, 27, was a mother of 5 children with her slave husband, Alan Southgate. Unfortunately, Charity's owner, but perhaps not a surprise, refused to abide the court order, and she was forced to commence a second lawsuit seeking her freedom and that of her children. 12 years later, in 1846, she'd saved enough money to purchase the freedom of her husband. Now, the mother of 10, Charity, won her second lawsuit in 1847, and she was immediately declared to be free along with her 10 children. You can interrupt me with applause there for Charity. Now, Charity lived along the Licking River, which feeds into the Ohio. Do I have any Kentucky people here, Ohio people? No? There you go. Well, the Licking River, as she will tell you, feeds into the Ohio, and one would expect Charity to cross the river into free Ohio, but she eschewed that familiar escape route and chose to remain in slaveholding Kentucky, where she risked her hard-fought freedom by being active in the Underground Railroad. So as you can see, I have the examples of the women with whom and for whom I work. I have the example of my wife and my daughter, and the example of Charity. I hope today that we will never forget the experience of a girl who became a woman, who used the law to gain access to freedom for herself and her family, and then risked it all to help others. So Charity, I hope in some small way I've done something that honors your life. Thank you.